this regular scheduled meeting of Munhall Council, October 21st, 2015, to order at 7:02 p.m. Lindsay, would you lead us to the pledge?
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do we have any preliminary announcements, council? If not, we'll proceed. Roll call, Becky.
Councilman Fallis. Councilman Shields.
Here.
Councilman Bonadier. Councilman Brennan.
Here.
Councilman Fall.
Here.
Councilman Ingalls.
Here.
President Lloyd.
Present. Okay, we have one public speaker, Pat from Computer Gurus. Come up to the podium and state your name and address.
Catherine McKellen, 436 East State Avenue, Computer Gurus. I was here at the June meeting asking for some sort of relief from the parking situation on the avenue. We granted some 15-minute loading zone signs, but they are not working. I mentioned this to a few of you, in the past. Either people don't see them, or, as I found out yesterday, the one that's placed on the pole closest to me is really for the space behind. I put a note on the wrong car. The Homestead Parking Authority was there for several hours. I said, please note you're in a 15-minute loading zone, and she came in the store pretty irate. She didn't see a sign, and then when she saw the sign, she's like, well, that's not for that space anyway.
Wow, with all the tickets that she's given me over the years, I would have loved for her to get a ticket.
I said, this is what they gave me. So, I'm sure she'll be there every time she's at the magistrate. I mean, they're not working, basically.
Well,
The
you're
second
asking us
sign-
for enforcement.
Well,
Signs don't work by themselves.
Do we need to paint a line on the curb?
half of my customers that see the sign think they can't park there because it says loading zone. So, I'm wondering, if I paid for a sign that said what I needed to say, parking for computer viewers only, or whatever, something to that effect, would that be possible? Can't do that. Okay? Can we put a sign where it's, like what I envisioned was something I've seen around, Propel School has one, it's about 4 feet high, 15-minute parking.
Why don't you get one of those sandwich boards signs and
Am
put it
I
in front
allowed-
of your store on the sidewalk that says, this is 15-minute free parking for loading. Don't designate it to you, but that would seem to me to do the trick. I mean, otherwise, you might have to hold a class for your customers.
Am I allowed to put a sign there that says computer gurus parking only, that I can drive in and out?
No, it's a public street, it's not private parking for your business. Anyone can park there. We can limit the parking, as we have, but anyone can use it for that purpose.
Well, if the sign isn't, the second sign is like 5 or 6 spaces back, it's totally ineffective. You guys said something about the first 3 spaces, which I don't think that's real practical. But the space right in front of the store isn't, it's not placed to where people, first of all, see it. Like I said, half of them don't see it. Is there a way to, I know it involves putting a hole in the ground to put a post in. Can you just put one where it's more obvious that it's the front space?
I think we could look at that.
I mean, I don't think what's there is enforceable for the front space.
Well, I think we can look at that, potentially moving that closer to the corner and put 15-minute, free parking zones between the lines and have, a line there and a line further down, 3 spaces down. That would seem to me to be pretty clear to people.
Well, what's there is, it's not working. Like I said, the second sign is totally, it's in front of an empty lot. To be loaded, it makes no sense.
Okay, we'll look at it. If we can improve it, I'm sure we will.
Okay, you also said in June there'd be a few more months for whatever the rest of the parking is supposed to be looking like on 8th Avenue.
Well, the rest of the parking is gonna be that we're gonna activate the meters.
Okay, because you said it would be a few more months, something about the codes being written and all that. It's been a few more months,
Okay.
a few months will be 2 years. I mean,
Okay.
to have no regulation on this part of your business district, parking is, it doesn't make any sense. So,
Okay,
all right, thank you.
thanks, Pat. Okay, public comments on agenda items. Number 1 through 5, any takers on that? Donna?
What is a domesticated animal?
Like a dog or a cat. Not a farm animal.
It says relating to dogs, cats, and other, what is an other domesticated animal then?
Something like a hamster or a bird. You know,
So
chickens.
the ordinance that we're going to revise would be just a nuisance ordinance?
We're not revising that ordinance.
Or we're regulating.
We're replacing the ordinance. We never had an ordinance here on animals.
Okay? So
What
when
we
you,
had was a kennel ordinance.
okay, but you say regulating nuisances.
Right.
What
Just like
exactly?
nuisance people. If your pet's a nuisance, you don't have to have 5, you don't have to have 10. If your pet's a nuisance and causing a disturbance in the neighborhood, the ordinance will be, allow the code enforcement officer to cite you.
I think we mean excessive barking going on, not cleaning up your yard and the smell, or something like that.
Did we make a copy available?
No, that's
We're
not.
gonna be
That's the
advertising the ordinance in the paper, so that will be available for public viewing. We
Okay.
hope to take a vote on that at the next meeting.
So you're gonna vote on it at the next meeting then?
Yeah, after it's advertised, and are we having a public hearing as well?
This
or-
will be the next one, yeah, this is, it's a draft I submitted to council, they've reviewed, if they're interested, we follow the normal procedure, vote to advertise, then next month it can be adopted after a public hearing. Once we vote to advertise, it's available for you to see, and it talks about nuisances, there's definitions in here, you can see all that. If they vote to move forward with it, otherwise it won't matter, because if they don't wanna do it, it's irrelevant.
Okay. Well, I'm just confused about the domestic, like snakes, reptiles, bearded dragons. Is that considered a domesticated
Well,
animal?
we can't name every animal that exists in the world, the ordinance would go on forever, so.
But this is just gonna be, okay, but this is just gonna be a nuisance.
Well, it's regulating nuisance, that's the substance of the ordinance. So when someone has a pet, an animal that traditionally kept as a pet, which is a wide range of pets, that's fine. But when the pet becomes a nuisance, and there are examples given of nuisances, we all understand what a nuisance is, like we're all talking about, you don't clean up after your dog, if the dog is barking incessantly and disturbing the peace, if the dog's running loose, those types of things would be the most common examples of nuisances, which could apply to dogs and potentially cats and animals like that.
With dogs barking in the middle of the night and so
Yes,
forth.
yeah, so we needed a tool because it became apparent after the discussion of issues that are ongoing in the borough and investigation into what we had, we didn't have an appropriate tool to regulate that type of problem. So this was the solution we came up with.
There's some things that are going to take care of bad owners too. People that leave a dog or an animal in a car unattended. I read that was in there.
Yeah, right.
So there's some things there to protect, a bad owner from doing things they shouldn't be doing with a pet. Leaving it out maybe in extreme weather.
Okay.
On these animals, when you have an electric fence around your yard, and the dog, I'm not saying he's vicious, but he barks like heck, and another dog walking down, or the mailman walking down, the dog goes right up to the fence. And the poor mailman almost had a heart attack this summer. What I want to know with the electric fence, once that dog starts to run, the closer you get to that fence, the more electric shock goes into him. But once he's on the other side of the fence, it goes away. Now, is electric fence suitable for them kind of dogs, or do you need to put them in a fence or a kennel?
If the dog stays on your property and you do it by an actual.
I'm not talking, he could be on your property, but that dog broke out of that wire a couple times.
Well, if he gets loose, then it would become a
Or it'd be too
violation.
late, cause somebody's getting chewed up.
Of course, that would be a violation.
Oh,
I think-
yeah,
I
you know,
think
you could
Mr.
have,
Condis-
you could have a lot of laws, but when you report these things to people, they don't do nothing about it. And you're over here talking about people have too many dogs in it. I'm only asking this little question. What happens when that dog runs through that
Well,
line?
and that would be a violation of the nuisance ordinance.
We already have an ordinance for dogs running at large, we cite people all the time for it.
Excuse me, I think, Mr. Condis, these kind of things will be brought up at the public hearing next month prior to council considering a vote on it. So the council does vote to advertise, as they will do this evening. After that, I would say Monday, that ordinance will be available for public inspection. And then there will be a hearing to address the kind of things you're bringing up right now.
Yeah, but what if that mailman would have had a heart attack right there?
Well, that would be unfortunate.
That's very
I mean,
right,
we
on
can't-
account of a dog run through the wire.
We can't go into every example. Donna brought up dragons.
I understand what you're
I don't think anyone's
saying.
gonna own a dragon in Munhall. I mean, I
I
don't think they
understand
will.
that, I understand everything you're saying.
So, he did. So, with that,
Also-
it will be brought up at the public hearing, Mr. Cornish. You can attend, you
I
can
won't be
bring your
here.
examples, and we will discuss it.
On item 4, I noticed the other day that there was, some sheriff's cell properties that the borough is taking to court, or properties up for sheriff's cell. Is the listing for the fee in the cost in these items that are being paid?
No.
Is there a reason why we waited so long to take some of these properties to sheriff's cell?
That's through legal tax service, not through the.
It says Munhall Borough, so it's legal tax service
Legal
taken?
tax service doing it on behalf of Munhall Borough, but those costs are not reflected in number 4.
They're not? Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? If not, we'll move into borough reports. Public officials, mayor. Oh, I'm sorry, I missed the minutes. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Who seconded? Second by Mr. Ingles. All those in, any discussion, corrections, deletions? If not, all those in favor of approving the minutes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. Now we'll move to reports. Mayor.
I want to start off by saying Community Day at the library was a very good day considering the circumstances that we had to deal with down there. Rob Foss and his help, so Bernie down there and a few others that were out there, and they conducted some games. It was an excellent time, and as I said, considering what was going on and the weather and everything that particular day, Rob, I commend you, and, keep it up. That's public needs things like that.
We're already gonna get planning started for next year. We're gonna schedule a meet, we actually, the library and I have, scheduled a meeting for Monday. Just a wrap up of what we've had this year and what we can do differently, and try to pick out a date.
Well, good job. I just wanted to, I think council is, kudos, let's put it that way. Second thing on my list is there's a lot of things scheduled, and I assume everybody received the Halloween trick-or-treat poster. Did you all get one? Okay. First thing on the agenda, though, is Devil's Night is the night before. And the police and the fire people all got a memo from the mayor requesting that they be on alert.
Still Bella's last game too, Mayor.
Yeah.
Home game.
Yeah, I realize it. And that our police be on alert for that particular night, because I'm sure, you know, there'll be a lot of things going on, and that's just part of the game every year. Also, Veterans Day at the high school on Wednesday at 8 o'clock in the morning, 8:15. You're all invited for excellent program, and the veterans obviously will be there, the ones that can make it, and you're certainly welcome to participate and take part in the Veterans Day program, which is a very nice program. Also, while we're at it, Christmas light up is right around the corner. First Friday, December 4th. Work it on your schedule, because that's our annual Christmas light up, and Mr. Shields and Mr. Falls, guys that really, have helped in the past, I, request you to, please get involved once again this year and, make it a beautiful night, which it always is. I will, contact some of the people who can be part of the program, and we'll have a nice time, like we do every other year, and thank those who participated in the past. Let's make it a beautiful Munhall night again. Got a couple of questions here. The cell tower, or not the cell tower, but the property on, the waterfront behind US Steel property. Who owns that? Junior Achievement? Can someone tell me?
Yeah, they still do.
They own it?
Yeah.
Do they owe back taxes or what?
They do.
So anybody that wants to build anything down there has to get a release from who? The waterfront people?
Well, it's complicated. We had an option on that property.
Right.
There's a covenant which was extensive, that we had the solicitor look at. It was about 20 pages long. The owner of that property, in addition to paying taxes, owes the Waterfront Associates $10,000 a year as a fee that they all pay for waterfront improvements and maintenance. So the owner would be responsible to pay that. We approached the owners and asked them to back off on that fee if we were to purchase the property, and they said that we would have to appeal to all of their members in the association.
Yeah, I heard that. So in other words, we have no chance of retaining any property down there
Oh,
unless.
no, we do. The next council could follow through. I mean, Mr. Brennan and I did a lot of work on that. We had the solicitor involved. We met with the people at Junior Achievement. We worked out a deal with them. We wanted to put a park down there that could adjoin with the lineal park that Homestead is trying to put between the tracks from the pump house.
Obviously, there's people interested in the property, let's put it that way, and we'd like to develop something down there, but this looks like another deal that we're gonna get nowhere with. Just one or two other questions. The firing range downstairs, the police firing range, we gotta do something in respect to that, to fix it up, to get it going. We have options, I know that. And also one other thing, there's no hot water in this building, which is a shame. No hot water.
There was no hot water when I came here. There still isn't.
Wasn't any hot water 20 years ago down, but don't you think it's time we get some hot water in the building?
I think probably is time.
I would say so. And, well, that's about it. I don't want to elaborate on any other things. Somebody else sees that, so. You have anything you want to remind me of, Chief? Oh, sorry, yeah, you sent a letter regarding the parking spaces.
Page 14 of those who have your tablets.
Okay, well, that's a good, you just brought a good subject up. I got 77 pages on my email, 33 which are readable, the others, I don't know where they're going. And that's, happens quite often. So, you know, I don't have pages 34 through 77 this month. I think I'm probably missing a little information. And, as far as that goes, we're gonna have to talk in the near future, but I will recommend now to council that since, the employees have parking spots, that we reserve 3 parking spots in the parking lot for our police too. I don't see why they should be treated any different. And, last but not least, the, prisoner thing. You know, who's going to be, watching the prisoners? What about the jail cells? And make some answers on that, especially now that we're coming into budget time, we gotta know this, and, that's all. Oh, anybody else wants to talk about anything like that, fine, come on.
I
That's all
believe
I
you on
have.
the parking, Mayor.
What's that?
The parking, you're right. I think the police should have some, but I think they should also enforce the people that are just parking there and leaving them there. The other day, there was 2 ambulances parked over there. There was cars parked there and they get out and they want a bus.
I see a truck out there today has a ticket on it.
I put the ticket on.
Oh, okay.
Bob gave me a letter last week, requesting me to identify what vehicles are out there. There was, how many cars on that list, Bob? Roughly 20?
20, person?
Some were MAPS employees, some of them were our employees, some were tax office. 3 of them were rental vehicles that we couldn't tell you where they came back to holding companies out of state. One was our local mailman who was doing the route, he always parks there. From what we could tell, there was no parking ride people in the lot. We don't know if some of the contractors were in the back of parking there. It was about a week and a half ago, there was on one spot in there, 8 more. 2 of my guys had to park in the driveway. They heard about it from the mayor because once their 2 vehicles were parked there, there were people pulling in there all day thinking that it was okay to park. So yeah, we have, you know, when that lot's full, our guys have nowhere to go.
But I mean, why were the ambulance parked there? And, I mean, it says a sign like this is for business, borough business only. No, that's people shouldn't park here. It's not borough business. It's
I think they lost a lot of their parking.
I understand it.
Construction.
So they just take ours.
They're parking there.
Well, that particular day you're
I'll
talking about.
throw the ambulance out there if you like. I mean, I don't think that ambulance is being used. It's either an old one that's been taken out of commission, or it's a new one that they haven't christened yet. But it really hasn't moved.
Oh, it sits there.
Right.
There's another one sitting out there off of Andrew Street.
That hasn't moved either.
No.
I think he put that in his building.
That's the one, as of today.
I rode by this morning, I just walked in the driveway there.
When Westfield is done, is there gonna be parking behind the borough building?
There'll be parking back there. We would actually like to fob that door so someone like us can park back there. Just come up to the bottom. That door needs replaced. It's old building.
Mr. Brennan had a brilliant suggestion on that, going back to before they dug that up, he said we ought to put angled parking spaces, move the field in like 10 feet before the fence, and put angled parking the whole length of that back there, and we would have probably had like 30 parking spaces. But nobody
You
listened.
can't do that now.
No, too late.
I have a good suggestion, like we did, ask Mr. Pida to sell that property behind the fence up there, and we'll have all that for community center.
I'm sure the price went up on that.
Oh, they sell it.
Yeah.
Price went up now.
He'll sell it, the price went up, though, obviously, it's going up every year, just like it does for every
Well, it
year.
went up because what's going on now.
Well, you go up a lot more, huh?
Yeah. Remember, we looked at it about 10, 12 years ago.
A community center would be very nice at the waterfront down there, Mr. Mayor.
But it probably fits in with the surrounding field and everything.
It would be
that goes
nice.
here for the kids playing, and the seniors, that would be beautiful up on that hill.
Then where are we gonna park then?
That is part of it, and part of the lot. There's
It's
bedroom up
50s.
there.
I understand what's up.
There's a lot going up there, if you know, develop it.
I think relative to the issue of the 3 spaces for the police officers, I think that's well intended, and I think we need to do that. I'm the one that collected the tag numbers and passed them on to the chief for him to investigate who was parked in there, that legitimately or not. And given the circumstances, I think the police do need at least a minimum 3 parking spots. I don't know if we need a motion on that, but I think
Just
at
make a
least,
motion.
at least we should at least give them 3 parking spots.
I made a motion to take them all down about 4 months ago.
A year ago.
Was that a year ago? All time
I mean,
flies.
we could bring that up to the
Motion
motion,
made
but I
to the
think,
audience.
I think that's well intended. I think at the very least we need to do that. As well as to the other violators and the one with the quote ticket. I think I know who it is, and it's my ticket. If it's there tomorrow, it will be towed.
It was a year
It
ago.
will be towed.
But I heard about that motion for 4 months after, just so you know.
Oh,
Did you?
Yeah, every day.
We'll move on then. So maybe under other, somebody can make a motion on police parking spaces later.
Yeah, you can do it.
All right, we'll move on to the solicitor.
Okay, on the agenda is the proposed new agreement from Optimus Risk Services to assist the borough in reducing the workers' compensation experience modification factor. We have them presently, as you know. I did review that. For legality, that's fine from my perspective to go, no changes are necessary. I attempted to record the deed for the Furman property, which he paid for, and never recorded the deed years ago, 19th Avenue, that playground property. But the clerk who reviews the legal descriptions objected to the meets and bounds we had on there. So I sent that to Lindsay, and I'm working with her to correct that. We're gonna get it taken care of, but there was some issue that they had. So I'll have to talk to Lindsay after the meeting. We will get that resolved. And then lastly, we've already talked about it, was the ordinance for nuisances regarding animals to address the lack of regulation. I drafted that, which council's aware of. I sent that for your review and comment and consideration, and so that's ready to go, subject to any changes or additions or deletions that you may want. And that's all I have to report tonight. Thank you.
Okay, any questions for the solicitor?
I have a question for the solicitor.
Mr. Brown?
My question regards sheriff sales,
Yes.
and in particular, the property on 8th Avenue, and the ins and outs of what it would take to bring that property to the sheriff's sales. If you could work on that, or look at that, give council some advice on what the ins and outs are, and the responsibilities of the borough to do that.
The sheriff's sale process can be pursued by any of the taxing bodies, so every parcel of real estate is subject to taxes by the county, the school, and the borough. And anytime taxes are delinquent, any one of those taxing bodies has the authority, legal authority on its own to pursue a sheriff's sale for delinquent taxes, as this borough would for that parcel. What that means is you follow the process. Over the years, we've certainly done them numerous times. We've always estimated the cost, total costs, fees, expenses, and everything else, probably about $5,000. So what happens is eventually it'll come up for sale at the first time it's called at the sheriff's office in the gold room, and there'll be a minimum price, which will include all those fees and costs we've incurred at the sale, all delinquent taxes, and any other liens on the property that anyone else files, and that's a minimum bid. And oftentimes, nobody bids that. If someone does bid that, then everyone gets their money they're owed, and it's good result, and you have a new owner who moves on. But typically, that doesn't happen. It's common that that upset price, that minimum bid, may exceed the value of the property. We see that typically. In that case, then the municipality or whoever's conducting the sale will postpone the sale because they didn't find a buyer. So then begins a process that we want to continue to postpone in the hopes that a buyer comes in, because it's going to be relisted every 90 days. And if you don't postpone it, then the municipality running the sale is Munhall. We can go in there and say, we'll take ownership for, the price of fees and costs, which means what we have invested, the sheriff will issue a deed, in the name of all three taxing bodies, even though we spent the money, that would be a lien against property, and all three taxing bodies would own it, so that's the outcome. Or if you have an interested buyer,
I didn't know that happened, so.
Yeah, that's what
if-
happened.
If indeed no one bought the property,
no one ever comes forward,
it would become all three taxing bodies?
all three, it doesn't matter who conducts the sale, the sheriff issues the deed and the title of all three taxing bodies, doesn't matter who instituted it, who paid for it.
Okay.
Correct. Yeah. So-
And am I correct in assuming that we can initiate the sheriff's sale and we can put it not at the asking price of all the taxes owed, but we can go directly to the minimum prices of the fees and costs?
Well, there's a second step that you can go to. If you think you have an interested buyer, and you wouldn't make this effort unless you did, you can present a petition, a motion to a judge to have all those taxes and liens that are owed forgiven, and then sold at just the basic costs that we have involved in the property. So it wipes out everyone's taxes, just to get it back on the tax rolls. Now, any of the taxing bodies could object to that. Typically, they don't, it depends on the property. But that's an option as well. Normally, as I said, you wouldn't do that and spend the time and expense to do that unless you thought someone was gonna come in and buy it, but was not willing to pay the upset price because it's too high.
Exactly.
So
So
that's an
that
option.
could be an enticement to sell the property as well.
Yes, that's an option.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Manager.
Thank you. Under the manager's report, just a few things. Suggesting that we request 4 proposals for 2016. Engineer, landfill, alternative, copier, and perhaps a few other things that council may want to advance. I don't think we need a motion on that, but we're looking at the 2016 budget. Our current engineer is a Chester engineer, and Lindsay serves us well. Certainly, Chester would be invited to participate as well. As far as landfill, we currently have a contract with Westmoreland landfill, which is about an hour away. We've been using that for the past several years for our refuse disposal. Last year, we did go after Kelly Run. They did not entertain a proposal for us. Kelly Run is owned and operated by Waste Management. Since we operate our own refuse, there may be some resistance of Waste Management from taking our refuse. I did speak to a representative there a few days ago. Whether they respond on a request for proposals or not, I don't know, but we'll certainly do that. Our copier, we have 2 more years left on the lease. There's been some interest perhaps to replace that and to swallow those 2 years and roll it into perhaps another arrangement. But we're looking to do that. We do need to select a physician's panel for our workers' compensation claims, as well as a provider for our random drug and alcohol testing for our employees, both CDL drivers as well as everyone else, including the manager. We brought this up a few months ago. There was some resistance from the council person feeling that it wasn't adequate. Spectrum is the one that's used by a good 80 or 90 municipalities in southwestern Pennsylvania. No action on that tonight, but I will certainly bring it up to the next time because we are sorely behind the physicians panel as well as DNA random testing. We brought up at the workshop meeting the feasibility of installing time clocks for our hourly employees. We're getting costs on that right now from third parties. That would be done either by finger, impression, or eye. We're looking at that right now. The solicitor brought up that we have on our action agenda is the Optimus risk. That's our workers' comp case management contract that will be coming up hopefully for the next year. A turnkey contract, we currently have a contract with Turnkey that will expire next month. That is to do collection on delinquent landlord, tenant, EIT. Dave Cannon has been working diligently along with Turnkey to clean up our database relative to our rentals and our landlord database. We think we have that completed, but that's going to be coming up for next month, just to give you a heads up. And lastly, on our earned income tax quarterly report, you have in the report that we sent you and email you, and if you have your tablets, it's there. There was a quarterly meeting last week, and Donna Dressman certainly serves Munhall well by attending those. You do have those attachments there if you care to go with that, look at those. But Munhall seems to be faring very well in the collection of the earned income tax. And I do have several attachments with what I just mentioned, and that's about all I have on my report, Mr. President.
I had a question, since we were talking about turnkey, and I brought up the question at the workshop last week, and Donna, you weren't here at the workshop.
No, I wasn't.
And the question is, and maybe you can ask Jordan next time you're out there, but we're following up on our end from turnkey. We had nearly a doubling of our earned income tax collection when it went to the single source countywide or tri-countywide system, because they have access to state income tax records, which we never, local taxing authorities never had before. So I don't think that a bunch of people moved into Munhall and started working all of a sudden in 2012 or 2013. So that was $500,000 that we collected that we didn't collect the prior year. So we're asking Turnkey to compare the current last 2 years' records for earned income tax to the records that we had prior to that when it was through legal tax. And if, 500 people show up all of a sudden, we want to know if they lived here before and they just weren't paying the tax. Because it's just, it's unimaginable that all of a sudden, at 1%, you pick up $500,000 in new revenue. Some of that had to be there and we weren't getting paid the money.
I understand, but now more so the employer takes it out for everybody.
Well,
Unless it's a smaller company or you're self-employed, because there was a discrepancy where some of the company, where if you work for some of the company and the headquarters were out of state, that they weren't gonna do it, but they do it.
Well, that was a question here that we discussed with Turnkey as well, because at the waterfront, sometimes managers, if people say, well, I work at the waterfront, where do you work? I work in Homestead. Well, you really don't. I don't care if your computer, when you punch in 15120 and it pulls up Homestead, you're not really in Homestead, you're working in Munhall. And, we're still looking at the aspect that there might be a lot of people that think they work in Homestead and we're not getting earned income tax from that, but we should be. And Turnkey had an experience with that in, Crafton, Ingram, Jeanette, a couple other places where a zip code was, went over multiple taxing bodies and they found a bunch of money for some people that weren't getting it before, municipalities.
Yeah.
So that's being looked into as well.
Yeah, because I know there was, some of the employers had the wrong code for where to send the money to also.
Right. And it's not unusual for our tax collector to get stuff that should go to Homestead and they get stuff that should be sent here.
Well, just like if you lived up in Gates, or if you lived on Goldenrod, you theoretically might be living in the Pittsburgh side, and the
That's right.
zip code is 15120. So it also depends how they have that coded in with the accounting or the payroll departments also.
Right. Yeah,
Okay.
well, it's to
I'll
be a
check
big
with
pool of
them.
money. If it jumped up $500,000 or $600,000 in 1 year, I gotta believe that for the prior 2 or 3 years, we just weren't getting that money and we should have been.
Either that or people got jobs. There wasn't a high unemployment rate for a while.
I don't think that many people got employed all of a sudden. I would like to think we were growing like that. Okay, any other questions for Bob?
I do. I just have a couple comments. Bob and I have a finance meeting every month. And the results of our last finance meeting are, we have a little flyer on the desk over there We're projecting that we will have a cash balance of about $125,000 at the end of the year. So we're in much better financial condition at the end of this year than we were the last prior 2 years. So that's good news. And I have to just say, you know, it's been managed much better by all the staff, you know, the chief, the public works department, Bob, everyone is, you know, it's obvious that with a little bit of a 125,000 cash balance from this year going from last year at almost breaking even, things are starting to, you know, work a little smoother. Thanks, Bob.
Next month it may be a little lower, but they know that's a projection.
Okay, engineer, Lindsay?
Thank you. Got a copy of that report. The only new thing I wanted to highlight is we talked last month about, the permits will be necessary to do the joint project to dredge West One Creek. So, I provided DEP with the summary of the project and the limits of work which would be required, and they still didn't come to an understanding if they would want a joint project with or joint permit with the Army Corps of Engineers or not. So I'm meeting with them in person tomorrow at 2 to go over everything. In order to start that ball rolling, I was gonna provide an engineering proposal just to begin the project, and then we'll find out what all the permits and everything are gonna totally cost, and to get the survey done, because they will require a survey and a three-dimensional, like, side profile drawing of the amount of the soil that is to be removed. And there are limits, which will be based on, I guess, different permitting and fees that will be determined on the extent of the amount of solids that are removed. So, I guess tonight I just would like authorization to meet and start the permit and then provide a proposal when we have an exact cost, what we think that will be. That's all. I don't think we can approach other municipalities and talk about costs until we have met with DEP with the pre-planning meeting and have an idea of what permits they would like.
So when do we need to schedule a motion for?
It's up to you. I'm comfortable working under the, our miscellaneous authorized budget to meet with DEP tomorrow and provide a detailed one, or you could authorize a amount that would cover the survey work that would allow us to get that started. I guess it depends on how quickly we plan on having the project. The goal in my mind would be to have it derived prior to rain in the spring. So we would want, it's a 90-day review process, and 3-month review process with DEP. We want enough time to finish everything before March.
You're talking about the $5,500?
Yeah, I wrote $5,500. We could, like I said, I can go to the meeting, I can prepare a formal proposal, you can approve it at the next month. You could authorize $5,500 today, I could get the survey company out surveying,
Why don't we do that, because then we only have to do it once, we'll know what the hard numbers are, and we can act on it.
Right. But I believe you'll still need a full formal proposal for everything to present to other municipalities, according to the terms of your agreement.
And the other municipalities involved are?
West Homestead and
Homestead and the city.
County. Is it?
County.
County.
Cities has a piece of it too, whether they're part of it.
I believe it's split thirds. The cost is to be borne is Homestead.
Okay, we do it in the November meeting?
Yeah. But you can proceed with what you have to do
Right,
now
I'm
for the
going to
background, so
meet.
that's fine. Any questions for Lindsay?
I have a couple of questions.
Proceed, Mr. Mayor.
I have a report dated December 4th, 2013. It's from the Mon Valley manager, Carl Delcasse, is that correct?
Yes, yeah.
And your name is signed to it as well, Lindsay, and it's regarding the property on 8th Avenue, 428. And it's a pretty basic report that you sent in, and it's not real detailed. When you guys looked at the building, and I believe in speaking with you in the past, you told us that the building was structurally okay. Am I correct?
I'm gonna defer to the solicitor on the actual answer on that. That is the basic demolition, bare minimum required for him to proceed with demolition.
Okay,
So that's not my assessment of the property, my structural assessment. That is plainly stating that it is a health and safety hazard due to lack of maintenance.
Right.
That is the language that the solicitor needs. We've been doing it that way for as long as I've been here and as long as my predecessor was here, and we have never been questioned when it gets to the challenge with condemning the building.
I'm not challenging you that. I'm
Well, no, I'm saying, I'm not saying it's structurally unsound, I'm not saying it's gonna cave in, I'm not saying you shouldn't go into it. All I'm stating is that it's causing problems
I
as a health and
understand,
safety.
I understand what this letter is.
So, that is that.
And my question to you is in regards to the property. Did you go through the property?
We did not enter the structure, we were not permitted.
You didn't?
No.
Okay. You know, I'm looking at, we need to get this building back on the tax rolls or knocked down, one of the two. And the solicitor has given us an option. I'm asking you for your advice here, and this is very, per se, this is a demo letter, really is what this is pointed to. But I'm looking at, is there asbestos in the building? You know, if we would take the property over, we should look at it in a point of view as, what is our responsibility gonna be if we do a sheriff's sale? So, I'm trying to get some input from you, from the attorney, so we can bring it back to my colleagues on council to make a good decision on what we should do there. So, that was why I asked you that question. You didn't enter the building, all you could do is really look into it and see what's going on from the outside and observe it.
When I spoke about getting bids for the demolition, the first question they asked was, the first thing they said was that they had to do a asbestos study if it wasn't done by the borough. So that would be required attachment, and it was my understanding.
And that was never done.
That's the responsibility of the contractor that we would, that's how it would have been done had it gone through COG. Is they require them to do that, it's at their own risk.
But you do recommend that it would be demolished according to the road, right?
Absolutely, I was asked to evaluate the structure so that it could be condemned, and that was how.
Right.
Yeah, we did that. We condemned it, we had a public
Yeah.
hearing.
It's done.
Following up on that, in your question last week, I conferred with the solicitor, because there are concerns that the fire chief had about flammables, tires, petroleum products, but more so, my concern with us running through sheriff's sale and taking ownership of the property is that there's a good possibility that there's environmental hazards there, since it was a garage, and garages tend to, back in the day, they dumped oil, they dumped things down the drain. They dumped things in the underground tanks. And what we discussed was.
Were there tanks on the property?
We don't know.
She said yes.
If you peer in through the back and through the front, you can see fueling tanks. If you
Visible
look at-
above ground tanks,
Above ground.
not
Yes.
underground tanks. There's potentially underground tanks as well.
Okay.
So there is some money available through the COG, I believe. They still have some money available, but is it all gone there?
Not anymore. You guys horsed around.
Money for what?
30,000.
To do a study. Well, we used that on the property on the waterfront.
You made a letter that you recommend the other properties by whose authority, I don't know, Bob signed the letter. You made it with 3 other properties, and because of the historical significance of these 3 other properties, for some reason, they got
No,
deleted.
I'm not discussing the tear down money. I was discussing money for environmental
Study.
brownfield studies. And they have a grant, they're still holding a lot of money at the COG that can be used to look into the environmental hazards of the property. The problem is, we don't own the property.
Right.
But we know the owner, and he may, if we write him a letter, allow us to at least do a study and find out if there's environmental hazards. I think we should do that
Absolutely.
before we own the property potentially.
Right. Well, good. Would you like to initiate that?
Yeah, I think Bob can initiate that, he can write a letter, or the solicitor can write a letter to, Mr. Costa and ask him if we can have access to the property for the purposes of doing the environmental stuff.
And when we do that, maybe you should have the fire chief go with you, and you can do a little review as well. Don't you think?
Should be code enforcement as well, I would think.
Absolutely, I think we should all get in there.
We should bring the county in.
Well, then, I would think he would have to submit to that part.
Call him.
Would he not? If we need to do a safety inspection, code enforcement inspection, he needs to allow access. Have you been in throughout the building, Dave? No.
I am not, I'm not entering that structure to do any kind of inspection. As far as I'm concerned, that building was moving when I was down there, deemed it a hazard at the time, pulled the power to the block because that building was moving, I heard it moving, it mysteriously stopped moving. I'm not going in there.
No, that's fine.
I'll do whatever inspection I can from the outside.
Same
I'll look in the windows.
Same way.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay,
Delegate.
so Bob, you'll follow up on that with the owner and talk to Ann at the COG and see if there's some money.
Brownfield money is available to do the environmental assessment.
Good.
Good. Okay, so we're moving right along. Public Works Supervisor, Bob.
I just got a few little things, October 30th, we're going to have a driver safety course, winter driver. And so right now we're getting trucks ready for winter, and finishing up some catch basins before the snow comes. That's all I have.
Did we get access to the salt bin yet? Is
Pretty
there a
much,
date
yeah.
set up?
We got a meeting with them on Monday.
We actually met with the contractor foreman yesterday. We still have blockage to the salt shed. They've been notified to move their equipment. If not, we will move it for them. They will not like the way we do that. We expect within the next 3 to 4 weeks, we'll have about 15 22-ton tandems coming in with salt, so they've been notified.
Yeah, well, and that would be good if that was done before the trucks got here.
And I have a comment. I want to thank Bob and the Public Works people for putting the stanchions out, which should have been put out earlier, but please notice they're there for the benefit of the kids across the school and also the seniors at the high-rise apartments. And by the way, I noticed one was hit when I was on my way down. Please straighten them up because it's obvious the public, after they hit them, they're not going to straighten them.
Okay.
Has the sewer line been repaired yet?
Yes.
Nice.
That's all I have.
Thanks, Bob. Any questions for Bob?
I have a couple things. One, I want to thank you and your workers for helping out on Community Day. Unfortunately, you had to get all those booths down there, which we weren't able to use, but thank you and thanks for helping out. All you guys did, that day for us. And I brought your attention earlier about the water company on West Virginia Avenue. They paved over some of our downspouts and we're gonna check into that. I just recently found that out as early as 5:30 tonight. In West Virginia, the water company did a little paving on some spot, on some downspouts. I guess it'd be downspouts, right, Bob? The ones coming from their gutters to the street.
Who?
The water company did.
For whom?
They paid over.
They paved over
Who's they?
the water company.
Residents.
Coliseum did over the
I'll call that guy.
Right. We had a water main break there about a little over a year ago. And when they paved it this past summer, they paved over.
Okay.
So right now,
You're
we
aware
don't
of
have
that,
to
Bob?
take it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll take care of it.
Since that issue came up, and you were at the site of the Ms. Costello that was here, that talked about her
Jefferson.
Downs, no.
Union.
I didn't go to Jefferson, but I did go to Union Street, and it's obvious to me that when the driveway was paved, which wasn't, or not paved, when the concrete was poured there, it was not original. That's not the original concrete. And that's what you discovered as well, Lindsay. And they just let that pipe just be buried in the ground. And there's enough fall from the house to the street that if you put a trap on it and cut a trough in the curb, not us, they did this, their water would run and go through the trap and still go out onto the street. I mean, if they wanted to leave the pipe as low as it is now, but that's a private matter. That's not something that the borough did from everything I can see, from what you could see and you could see. And your suggestion on that was to have Bob write them a letter and say, look, we don't see where this is our responsibility.
Yeah, I think follow-up would be, goes for the borough and explain how we completed our investigation, and this is our conclusion, and this is an available remedy for you if you choose to do at your expense.
Yeah, we've done that, and I've asked Public Works, so we clear that way in the curb if we did that.
I thought we bring up.
There's nothing in the curb, there is no curb cut.
Bob?
I just did it last week.
Oh, you did cut it? Okay.
Our curb, yes.
Okay.
But it's up to the property owner to connect to the curb.
Right. Well, that's fine. That's fine. All right, good. Fire chief? No, police chief.
Mr. President, you have a copy of my report, the brief, 562 calls we responded to in the month, resulting in 554 incidents, 56 arrests, 79 citations issued. We still have 3 guys off the schedule, 3 officers off the schedule, 1 on maternity leave, 1 off injured, 1 on light duty. Anticipating getting all 3 of them back by the end of the year. So we have to make some adjustments to the schedule again. The mayor and myself have been working on a new schedule for next year, that's hopefully going to balance everything out a little better. Working with Bob to get some equipment that we need. The used radios that we got are not really making it through. Bob asked me to put a wish list together. I've been working on that with him for the last week or so. I don't really have much else, I'm just trying to have it here for you, so, nothing, you have any questions for me?
No? Okay, we'll move on. Fire chief, Ed.
Thank you, Mr. President. You're responding to 36 emergencies in September. Totaling about, between training, emergency incidents, and other public service, we total about 1,850 man-hours. Volunteer man-hours. Couple of things is the fact that I pointed out that as of the end of September, we had just under 400 calls or emergency responses for the year. So we're gonna be probably over 500 responses by the end of the year. Barney, how many were when you were fire? 120 max? The entire bureau?
I imagine.
So I looked. I went back many years and.
Of course, we ran 2 ambulances back there too.
Well, yeah, there was a little more because of the, well, yeah.
Yeah.
But, so we're at 500 straight emergency responses for the year, and it's not getting any better. So, we're busy. We've done some other things too. I have a meeting next Tuesday set up. We have our chiefs are meeting, we meet monthly, the battalion chiefs. And we have First Vehicle coming in, to, meet with us as well, Scott from First Vehicle. We are having, numerous issues.
When is that? Do you have a date yet on that?
Yeah, next Tuesday,
Time?
7
AM, PM?
PM. Yeah, because we have to, there's a bunch of stuff that we need to hash out with First Vehicle. We're not, getting, quality service right now, from them. We think we deserve better, than what we're getting. Some of the stuff is actually ridiculous. So, I'll report to council on that. The Halloween parade, I remind everybody, the Halloween parade's the end of the month. Fire department, will be a big part of that. Munhall PD will be there, everybody's outside. We'll be shutting the road down. That parade kicks off at 2:30. So we'll be shutting the road down about 15, 20 minutes before that. We'll have Main Street closed.
What's the date on that, Ed?
The Halloween parade's on the 31st, Halloween. So Halloween starts pretty much by the time everybody eats the last hot dog, they'll be out trick or treating. So we're the same, nothing's changing. We'll do the same thing. Everybody ends up at number 4 up there. All the fire departments will participate, be key in that. Also, we did some fire prevention this month in October that I wanted to comment on. We spoke to, Glenn and I and Lenny Cole spoke to a little over 100 people at St. Teresa's Plaza. for a couple of hours. And also, they did, Lenny and Glenn were key, they talked to, how many students? 600, like 400 or 500?
Yeah.
Park School, lunch with the firefighters in Park School, it's a big safety day. And then we did Franklin School. We usually do St. Teresa's, but that's on semi-annual basis, or biannual. So they'll get St. Teresa's next year, so we do them, 3-year period where we get 3 grades together, so they'll be good next year. And there was only one minor injury, it was a minor cut on a kneecap during an incident, so we're doing pretty good as far as safety. There's some other fundraisers coming, some of the guys have fundraisers, it's all in the report, First Bash, Golf Bash. The lottery calendars are out, so does anybody have any questions for the fire department?
How's the guys at the broken leg guy?
He's
How's he doing?
good, he's done, he's back in service, he's an active lead firefighter.
Nice to be young and
Great. If that would've happened to me, I'd have been retired.
Wow, that's good to hear.
Good news. All right, we'll move on to the code enforcement officer, Mr. Cam.
Yeah, you have a copy of my report, there's really nothing else I need to talk about right now.
Okay, sewer authority, Mr. Terry. Okay, we'll move on for items for consideration. Number 1, Bob.
Okay, items for consideration, just hold on, if you could bear with me for a moment. The first one we have is the, number 1, move to advertise proposed ordinance 1574, regulating nuisances relating to dogs, cats, and other domesticated animals.
Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Shields, and a second. Second by Mr. Ingles. Discussion on the motion, it's just to advertise, we all had a copy of this last week. Anybody have any suggestions or problems with what was submitted by the solicitor? Okay.
Yeah, the only thing I'm concerned with is the definition of kennel non-commercial, limiting the number of animals a person can own. I thought that was actually upheld in the state Supreme Court, Crafton versus Creighton.
Somebody different than this.
This was taken from another code section that we have, and I have to go through here. I'll tell you what, I'll talk to you about that after the meeting. There was another code reference to that we had. That doesn't mean that you're correct about that case, I have it in here, but I'll find that other section and talk to you about it after the meeting.
If you have a year on that, I was probably there at that time.
1994.
No. We have motions.
But at this time, there is no limit on animals. You
No.
can't do that,
There
right?
is none, no.
There is none, okay.
Now, and after a month and a half ago, when we told Dave to enforce the code, we got a lot of complaints from animal rights
We all
people,
did, I did too.
about the number of pets, so we think we fixed that. Motion's on the floor. Any more questions or comments? If not, all those in favor of the motion to advertise, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no, the motion carries unanimously.
Number 2, move to authorize payment to the local government academy for Munhall Borough's 2 yet to be newly elected councilmen, ranging from $450 for the certificate program to $275 for the Saturdays only program, subject to successful election of both. I bring this up now because we have potentially 3 new council people coming on board. 2 of the 3 have expressed interest to take advantage of the borough's offer to pay for the tuition for both of them before taking office, and that first session starts on November 21st. We meet on November 11th the next time, and we wouldn't take any action till afterwards, and we probably would not have checks signed or processed by that time to the LGA to get the two yet-to-be elected officials at least have their tuition paid for. That's why we bring it up now.
Make a motion.
Second by Mr. Shields, second by Mr.
I do have a
Brennan.
question. When I went, 16 years ago, believe it or not, there was a stipulation that you had to finish the course.
Well, that says it in the motion.
And-
Oh, no, it says successful election.
Right, so I mean, we pay it, they have to go, and they have to finish it.
You have to have the completion.
So it's completion of it, right?
Okay, was that an amendment to the motion? You make an amendment
Make
to your
an
own
motion, they
motion?
have
Do
to
you accept
complete
the amendment, Mr. Brennan?
I do.
Okay, so that's all the
It's a
floor.
great,
Any more
it's a great,
questions?
it's a great,
I'm glad I did the Saturday.
it's a
program.
great fair, it's
I wish it would have been offered to me.
You wanna go?
seriously,
It's a good program.
I would like to, I wish I would have, at the time, it was a little bit of a disarray.
Right.
No, it was disarray. It's never too late
hey,
to say no.
hey, Rich, where we can make it free, you can go now.
You can go
There's
now.
nothing wrong with it,
Fine,
I recommend it.
fine.
Yeah, go on a Saturday. They have donuts, coffee.
Well, they have a short program just one Saturday, this is the whole thing.
No, Saturday, many Saturdays.
Right, it goes into the following year, I believe, it goes into January, doesn't it? There's some week,
No, it goes into February, March.
yeah, there were some weeknights too. Yeah, there was weeknights.
I teach it, I know.
Oh, very good.
Well, you should think about that, Mr.
I will, I'll consider it, but if you wanna put
Should we
it in
change the
there.
motion now to add another thing for Rick?
Well, we can, you making an
Bernie's
amendment to his
motion.
motion?
With Bernie's motion.
Would you like to make an amendment to his motion?
Sure.
To add Mr. Brennan?
Yes.
Can you accept that, Mr. Shields?
Absolutely.
Mr. Brennan, you accept that?
I don't know that I can vote on that.
I don't know that you
Yes, you
can.
So it's not a personal, financial.
Okay, then we're clear. All those in favor of the
Wait,
motion?
Becky, if you get
I'm writing.
I'm
First
pretty
amendment,
confused myself.
first amendment was that they need to complete the certificate program, and the second amendment is that we send, Councilman Brennan,
pay for Councilman Brennan.
pay for Councilman Brennan.
Right. So you've got it.
Mhm.
Any more questions on it? If not, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. Number 3, motion to enter into a contract with Optimus Risk for continued workers' compensation case management, safety committee facilitation, programming, consultation, and support services effective November 1st, 2015 through October 31st, 2016, at a monthly fee of $795, subject to solicitor review and acceptance.
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Falls. No, can't question the motion yet, it's not seconded.
A second.
Second by Mr. Brennan. Questions on the motion, Mayor?
Explain it to me.
Well,
I'm not too smart. Explain
this
it.
is a company that specializes in risk management and loss control. It was somebody that Bob worked with in the past. It was something that I was pushing for years, and Bob knew somebody, and he brought them in, and we've been working with them on loss control and safety, light duty, back to work program, trying to get our workers' compensation costs under control.
We've been doing that the past year, the contract's up, so it's a renewal.
And it's $795 a month.
Correct.
That's a little steep.
Well, so's our workers' comp that went up $250,000, Mayor. Yeah, Pat.
I've been working with this lady on a lot of different things. She's very helpful. I think it's been very good for us.
It's money well spent.
She knows the
And I
business.
think she already got us the 5% off the workers' comp reduction, which probably saved.
I pays for
We
it.
have the
Forty-
number.
$40,000.
I pays for it there.
The fire department did us that.
Yeah.
And we're seeing something we haven't seen here in a while. We're having, I know there's a public works guy that has started, that's working light duty, and we also have an officer working light duty, so
Right.
we're seeing something
So
start
it's working.
already.
Plus, she's following through with doctor's appointments.
And it's gonna be very beneficial to us.
Good, glad to hear it, Bob.
Okay, motion's on the floor. Any more questions or comments? If not, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries unanimously.
1 minute there, when your workman's comp goes so high, you go into the state pool, you know you have to do something drastic to make it work. That's where we're at.
It's bad, yeah. Well, the state takes a rate that's the same for everybody. And then the standard is about 150, so you multiply 150 times the rate. So if it's a $20 rate, it's $30 is whatever the standard is. When you go into the state, they charge 2 times that rate. So you're paying 40 instead of paying 30. And then you get rated on your experience over a 5-year period, excluding the current and 1 prior year. And what's our penalty? About 40%? Our mod's like a 1.4, so we're paying a 40% penalty on top of having to be with the state. So our workers' comp is, it's gone up from 200 grand to 450?
90.
490 in just a couple of years.
We went from 400, almost $500,000 a year on premium on workers' comp, which in the municipal business is unheard of. We reduced that to 371,000, and now with the 5% reduction because of Optimus risk, we're probably down to about $340,000 a year, which is still pretty bad. But it's a remarkable decrease from 490 last year. Did you think about that?
No.
No, we didn't.
Yeah.
We did vote. Okay, we're on number 4 now, right?
Yes, sir, number
Okay,
4.
You get sidetracked there. Bernie, you got me sidetracked.
I do that.
Number 4, motion to pay bills for the period September 11, 2015 to October 21st, 2015, summarized as follows. Administration, $48,036.10. Police, $109,533.87. Fire, $18,976.30. Health and sanitation, $17,859.69. Public Works, $99,814.57. Recreation, $7,035.25. Miscellaneous, $245,481.93, for a total during that 1 month period, 4 weeks, $546,737.71.
Do we have a motion? Motion by Mr. Ingles, second. Second. Mr. Brown?
Question?
Yes.
That recreation for that September 11th to October 21st, go Woodhill Park 237354 and Kennedy Park 2375. What is?
Kennedy Park one is they put a new roof on.
That was the gazebo. Put a new roof. Not only a new roof, but a whole reconstructed roof.
Wood.
I know that.
And Woodhill Park?
It was mostly just maintenance and grass cutting. Well,
There's a budget bill there for the electrician, but you did the work back in the summer.
we just got billed
We just
for
got
it.
the bill for it was like 6 or 7 thousand. What kind of
Yeah,
security
because
lights
it's
up
saying
there?
September 11th to October.
That's when we paid the bills.
I understand.
But they did the work back
They
in the summer.
did the work earlier,
Spring.
and we just got the bill.
Yeah.
We're just paying it now.
Any other questions on the bills? If not, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously.
Number 5, I think we have another one. Do we have another one? Please, okay, number 5, motion to approve payroll for the period September 24th, 2015 through October 22nd, 2015 as follows. Under administration, there's 3 pay periods involved during that period. Under administration, $17,991. Under police, $146,263. Under public works, $11,856. And sanitation, $47,830.
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Falk, second by Mr. Shields. Comments, questions? I'll just make a comment. This is something that I wanted to have months ago, and we were busy with other things. we did have this for a period of time, the beginning of 2013. I wanted people to know where we spend our money. I think it pretty much shows you in a more accurate way, and we had to wait for our bookkeeping company to recategorize some things with Bob's help, and now we're finally, by Becky, and Becky, sorry. But now it's categorized where it should be, and I think it lets us know where we spend our money. So with that, any other questions on the motion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. I'd like to entertain a motion for the parking spaces for the police. Pat, you want one for the chief, or just, you want three?
No, just.
You guys can fight over them yourselves.
No, the three in the parking lot is all right.
All right.
Go for two. Already have a
All right, good enough. Somebody want to make?
Motion to reserve 3 parking spaces for the police department.
Second.
Second by Mr. Ingles. Any questions, comments? We discussed it earlier. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. I would entertain a motion to
One thing,
adjourn
one thing.
after two things.
I have one thing. I forgot to remind President Lloyd that longtime Councilman Jim Now passed away last week. And he not only was a longtime councilman, he was a longtime borough employee. I don't know if I'm the only one to serve with Jim here. I don't recall. I might be. And he was a character to say the least. And he served, and the last time I saw him was down Lowe's. He's 93 years old, and I couldn't believe it.
Driving that blue Thunderbird.
I saw him about a year, 2 before that, driving a convertible, and he had red hair on Main Street.
Yeah.
He did.
Yeah.
And I saw him down, I don't know what happened, but maybe we'd stand for a moment of silence for Jim now.
Absolutely.
Thanks for bringing that up, Ernie. He worked there a long time.
Yeah,
He worked for like 40 years, Mayor.
Well, I was at the funeral yesterday. And he was probably on council for about 12 years. He was president of council, you name it, and Jim did it.
Right.
Borough. He had all kinds of job titles. 3 terms. And we were there, like I say, there were a lot of people at his funeral, a lot of people passed away because he knew a lot of people, and he certainly, I commend him on his service over the years on this council. And I neglected to say that, but I'm glad you reminded me, because I was there, and, I just kind of thought.
Thanks, Mayor Paul.
Since we're in the sense of mourning, I just want to let council know that you'll have your 2016 preliminary budget this weekend, and we have our first hearing next Wednesday to review the police and fire budget. And I did review the schedule with you last week. Hopefully we'll stay on target and have a budget hopefully by mid-December. So next Wednesday, we will have both the fire and the police to defend their budgets. And hopefully by Sunday night or Monday morning, you'll have the preliminary budget. So,
What time's that meeting?
6:30
6:30?
On
Wednesday, next Wednesday.
Just one more report, Dan.
Yes, Mayor.
Put some levity into the meeting. I think Chief Campbell and I were at a American meeting again now. What was
Wilbraham.
Wilmington, I couldn't think of it. It was in Wilmington and banquets on Wilmington there, and they had quite a nice turnout, and they had a main speaker up there by the name of John Hudson from the FBI, and some of you probably know that. But he was pushing, which, they knew a little bit after we've been there, about our big project here, plus the high school and all that. And they're working on drones. And they, made a suggestion, and they probably will have to face it in the near future sometime as far as security goes. And, it's just something that, I think one drum was $3,500, is that what it was?
The package that they're pushing is $3,500, complete package, 5 batteries, it's a pretty good offer. The recommendations they're making for search and rescue, school security, event security. John Hudson is a retired FBI agent who specialized in surveillance. He is now a consultant for Steve Zappala's office. All the cameras we have on the waterfront, his company did them. Very well-informed guy. He was making a pitch there for municipalities to start getting into the drone business. I will say that Mr. Scott Stevens in the audience has been on me about 2 years to do the same thing. They had one of those drones search a riverbank for a missing child. And just sitting in a room with a TV, it was probably a 32-inch TV, and we were probably from me to Dawn away from it. The picture quality was amazing. To be able to see what that drone was able to record was pretty amazing. So.
This is the future, I think, think about what you want, but I think, in the future, we're gonna have to.
Would that be
face
something you can share with like 2 other municipalities, go together and buy one?
We could, no, there's, like I said, we have some asset forfeiture money, we're doing a lot of,
Right.
equipment purchases now.
So it's non-budgeted, we could use.
Non-budgeted, we could use that, and like I wouldn't suggest budgeting anything.
Right.
No.
There's some things that I'm gonna be asking for in that budget that are gonna be costly, radios, AEDs, tasers. So there's, something like that, we would take care of an asset for.
But with an eye on the future, everybody sitting here is gonna have to.
Or an eye on you, an eye in the sky, Mayor.
The fix is back in the law yesterday, with Lord, but you have to, they have to be registered with the FAA. Anything that can go over a certain 150 or something.
Okay, well, with that little bit of levity that you added, Mayor,
Watch it, that's all
I mean, if you wanna do that, otherwise I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion.
He beat you.
I second.
All right, second by Brian. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I did a meeting and it didn't last till 10. What's going on? I took the brunt of it for the last 2 Well, yeah.